Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be talking about this series. This just finalized very recently. Superman Lost. We got the last issue last week, so I was able to catch up on everything that was going on with that series. I was able to read all the issues that I was behind on, and we're just gonna kind of talk about what I thought of the series as a whole, maybe some of the highlights, some of the events that happened throughout this book, and just really overall kind of talk about the overarching story. I won't go too far into details. I'm not breaking this down like deep down diving into the series. But I think this series is worth talking about specifically because it's pretty good. Like it's a really fun story that has Superman really disconnected from the overall universe, right? So I appreciate that DC's been doing things like this, like Batman Fortress and stuff like that, where we can kind of go on an adventure. You bring in a great team, but you still have everything pretty much kind of like a contained story. So let's talk about the creative team before we get into anything else. This book is a story by Christopher Priest and also Carlo Pagulayan. So Christopher Priest is doing the writing, and Carlo Pagulayan is doing the art. I think there's a few fill-in artists for some things, but overall, it's really Carlo working on pretty much everything, with inks by Jason Paz, colors by Jeromy Cox, and letters by Willie Schubert. We have a bunch of covers that you'll probably see some, throughout you've seen some throughout the issues, but yeah, it's a very very interesting book. Now, before I start sharing art and start talking about the events, let me give you a quick synopsis of the overarching story that we're going to talk about, because like it is a little bit uh convoluted, and I mean convoluted in the fact that there's a lot happening, but I think overall Christopher Priest manages to deliver something that feels entertaining, that feels like there are high stakes, feels coherent overall. But there are definitely some moments and details where you have to be paying attention. As I was reading, I was taking a few notes because I wanted to kind of keep track of everything that was going on. But when a routine Justice League mission goes awry, Superman must make a 20-year journey home. But he feels like a stranger when he returns to a world where no time has passed at all. After Superman is called away on a routine Justice League mission, Lois Lane awakens to find a complete stranger standing in her living room. The Man of Steel, how much sooner than expected, reveals he has, in fact, been lost in space for 20 years. Nothing and no one seem familiar to him anymore. The timeless bond between them has been severed, or has it? Can love conquer all? As Superman struggles to re enter his life on Earth, follow the story of his epic 20-year Odyssey. Yeah, that's a pretty wild premise. So I think Superman goes on, like he gets sucked in through like this black hole, whatever, comic book stuff is happening, and because of like time dilation and stuff like that, it's very well addressed in the book, which I really appreciate, because the main crux for me was this relationship between Lois Lane and Clark Kent, Superman and Lois. Like that's what's at the center, at the heart of this book. Can their relationship prevail, even this unprecedented unprecedented thing that they're kind of going through? But also, in the meanwhile, we learn about Superman's journey through these 20 years that he was away, lost in space, and all the people that he's met, the things that he had to do. And of course, he has to maintain, and I think the team does this very well. He continues to be Superman even in the face of all this adversity, which I think is really cool. That's kind of the thing I love about the character, that he truly is uncorruptible. He truly is like immovable. He truly is somebody that just will maintain. And the last thing he will lose, even if he has lost his powers, even if he has lost his friends, his wife, the last thing he'll lose is hope. And that's kind of what drives him all throughout this book. So I love that. I love that, seeing that. So let me pull up some of the preview art. Now this is a little bit different, so I think we should do it this way. Yeah, I think this will work. So uh, Carlo Pagulayan, fantastic artist, and I'm just gonna show you some highlights throughout some of these issues. I think it's kind of like the larger beats of the story. So in the first issue, we see that Superman is lost in space after a mission. You get to see here him working with the Justice League, and then also we see him here. Now that he's lost in space, he had to go on this planet where there are people that want to help him, but there's also people that kind of want him not to be there. His powers are a little bit uneasy because of the sun that's here. It's a little bit different than we have on Earth, which is why he gets that new suit. Which I gotta say, I love this white suit. I think it looks super cool. I very much appreciate how much advantage you could take of on a suit like this, and just the skill that it's required on both the artist and the inker and the color is really to achieve this effect where you can kind of still see the outline of Superman all throughout this. But and that follows along. We get to see Superman meet some space dolphins. They get into a fight. He has to fight a giant Superman sand made out of sand. Um, he meets up with this other species of aliens that are these little dudes that they are kind of invading planets. He gets to meet a space Jimmy, not Jimmy Olsen, but he calls him Jimmy because his alien name sounds kind of like Jimmy, and that kind of leads to a fight where we have a really cool discovery. We get to meet a whole new lantern, and her name, because there is no translation in English, she just goes by Hope. So this new lantern, Hope, um, we think that she's an ally, and for the most part, she definitely is working with Clark. But also because she is alone, she is stranded, she's disconnected from everything. She wants to keep Clark stranded in New York, which is this new planet. In the meanwhile, we have Lois. We have everything that's going on because, like I said, there's two timelines going on, right? There's Superman that has come back to Earth, but in the meanwhile, we're kind of seeing all the events that were driving him through this. So Lois is doing everything she can. She's working with Bruce. She's working with Wonder Woman, and as I mentioned, there's some really cool things. I really like the dynamic of Hope and Clark, but we do see that Hope does some really messed up stuff. Once Jimmy, or Space Jimmy, I guess, figures out how to get Clark home, Hope actually kills him, and that's kind of what's going on in this scene. They just buried Jimmy. Obviously, Clark doesn't know that it was her who did it. But yeah, it's really insane stuff. Once Superman figures out that he has to leave this planet, he runs into an old version of Superman that's kind of stuck in this black hole and is able to kind of travel through time. So I love seeing this page of like both of them. And then finally, when Superman finally is able to get out of there, he's rescued by Adam Strange, which, like, come on, that's just super cool. What an amazing detail to bring in Adam Strange. Like, of course, a traveler like that, right? So from there, things kind of escalate. We focus a lot more on what's going on at home, which means Clark trying to get better. He seeks help. He goes to a doctor. He goes to talk to someone about everything that's going on, uh, because he does feel like a stranger. And Lois, all in the meanwhile, like I said, she had been looking for help. She even went to Lex Luthor. Lex made something that caused Lois to appear to be sick to try to snap Superman out of it. And then just Superman kind of keeps trying to reconcile his feelings and the way that he's home. Um, he does definitely have a temper. There's a sequence where there's music going on, and Lex kind of pictures Superman um, kind of attacking him over and over. That part was a little. It was interesting because I don't know how much of it was really happening and how much of it was just in Luthor's head. Because I think we do have a place where Lex is kind of imagining some of these things. Like he imagined Superman just attacking him out of nowhere all the time. But yeah, I also don't know what the song is here because I don't read music, but it's all throughout the few pages of the issue. Um, Eventually, Superman goes back. Hope shows back up. Superman is really different, right? He's very involved. This is actually happening on Earth. What you're seeing by the screen, he's actually stopping a war, which is crazy. And then Hope shows back up. The Green Lantern that we met on the New York, she was able to track him down. and she comes for help because Newark is being invaded by those little alien dudes that we met earlier. But Superman knows that it's been so long there because, like I said, time dilation, that he won't be able to help. He won't have powers because last time we saw their sun was turning into a red sun. And of course, as we know, that'll take Superman's powers away. But of course, Superman is not alone. And we see this really cool shot of the Justice League getting together to help Clark. Finally, uh, I think the end of the book will be a little divisive because we see that what's really happening is that they have to send in a time dilation of Clark in that black hole. So the old Clark that we met is actually the Clark that we've been following all along, but he sacrifices himself to be able to send a different version of himself back home, one that where no time has passed, and one that remembers the bond with Lois. It's pretty crazy. It's a really, really insane book, but it's so much fun. It was a great read. I think this is something that I'll have to go back and revisit because I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. But like I said, it was just a lot of fun to kind of go through that. So all that being said, I really enjoy this book. The collection comes out in April or August, I believe, of this year. So keep an eye on that. But let me know if you read this series. If I missed anything, like I said, I was just kind of going through the big moments, but there's so much. I mean, it's 10 issues. I don't remember the last time I read a series this long, so fast because it was just like I couldn't stop myself. I had read the first 2 issues as they were coming out, and then I realized that this is going to be so much easier if I just kind of go through the whole thing as a whole. So, if you have read this, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.